Coming up, training police to be protectors, not warriors, could lead to better relations with citizens. Mary, Mother of Sorrows, help us to understand God's will in moments of great suffering. From the Twitter account of Pope Francis today, thank you for joining us on this Friday evening, April 17th. I'm Brian Patrick. The 73-year-old Oklahoma deputy charged in the fatal shooting of a suspect speaks out today. Robert Bates tells NBC that characterizations of him paying to join the sheriff's department are unbelievably unfair, in his words. The Oklahoma Reserve Deputy Sheriff turned himself in this week. He told investigators he meant to use his taser on 44-year-old Eric Harris, but accidentally picked up his gun instead. Bates now faces a second-degree manslaughter charge. This comes after another recent controversial police shooting. Former South Carolina officer Michael Slager is charged with murder in the shooting death of Walter Scott. Cell phone video captures Slager firing 8 shots at Scott as he ran following a traffic stop. Slager faces 30 years to life in prison if convicted. The shootings have sparked public protests of police use of force. Reverend Dean Nelson is chair of the board of the Frederick Douglass Foundation. Laurie Robinson, co-chair of President Obama's task force on 21st century policing and a former assistant attorney general. Dean, as a faith leader and a political activist, what are the main concerns of the community, the African American community specifically, and what role should community play in trying to bring about a solution?
Well, first, I want to say this is a troubling situation in cities across America, and our hearts and prayers go out to the families of the victims in every situation like this. I think that the primary thing for us at the Frederick Douglass Foundation is how can we begin to create dialogue and discussion between those who are in law enforcement and those who are in our communities, because the reality is that there are a lot of problems in urban America, and this actually is surfacing as kind of a tension between those who are in power and those who they are supposed to serve. And our hope is that we can bring law enforcement together along with those leaders within the community so that we can de-escalate some of the tension that has been created by many of these tragic events.
Laurie, are there specific recommendations the task force is making to try to accomplish this?
Yes, absolutely. We came up with a good number of recommendations, and they all go to the purpose of bridging the gap between communities and law enforcement. They come down to strengthening community policing, having law enforcement working with the community in collaborative relationship building, working with churches, working with schools, and particularly working with youth in non-enforcement kind of activities. Working with kids, for example, in athletic endeavors, in schools, in non-enforcement type of settings. And also working to build accountability within law enforcement agencies. For example, we recommend some kind of civilian oversight for every jurisdiction, but that each city or town needs to kind of structure it in the way that it thinks is best.
What are we missing in this debate? I mean, I know I grew up, to respect the authority of police. And is it that the police aren't earning that respect, or it's that people are ignoring that whole idea that they are an authority?
It's important for us, even for those in the faith community, to remember that, the Bible emphasizes that, all authority comes from God, and that we should respect those who are in authority. But it is a real issue when authority breaches that level of trust within communities. And so what we're trying to do at the Frederick Douglass Foundation that is missing, as you said, is to bring together people that sometimes don't come together at all. The events that we're doing in capital cities around the country are civil rights organizations like the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, but also there are conservative organizations that tend to not be engaged on this, like the Faith and Freedom Coalition. So what our goal is that if we can find common ground, and we're happy to say that there is a lot of common ground. You have Senator Tim Scott, who is a Republican, Senator Cory Booker. Both of them have really come together to see how we can solve this problem, not from a right-left, but really from a community perspective as well as from a leadership perspective.
And what are we learning as a nation from this?
One of the things that we've recommended is that law enforcement adopt a guardian mindset rather than a warrior mindset. That's something where the police really are working with the community as protectors, not as we versus them. And that kind of embracing of the community and working with them, that the community really needs to really create public safety along with law enforcement and not have it be a one side versus the other. That's very important.
Certainly some positive steps being taken. Laurie Robinson, Reverend Dean Nelson, thank you so much for joining us.